Okay, we are live. Welcome, everyone. I am here again with the wonderful Chris Stevenson, and I am so excited. We are so excited to talk about 3 ways to survey your staff. Before we get into that information, I want to introduce Chris again. And if you haven't met him yet, definitely look back at the other interviews I've had with him. But he is a former Power Ranger stuntman. I'm so glad you start with that. I'm able to start with that. But ultimately, he's the founder of Chris Stevenson Consulting, a full service consulting firm based in Westlake Village, California. Um, his current focus is to help businesses and entrepreneurs of all types maximize their potential. His expertise stems from his hands-on experience in all aspects of the health industry. For almost 20 years, he and his team successfully owned and operated Stevenson Fitness, which was a full service boutique health club in Southern California, which is definitely a tough market to be in. So having that success in the past has brought him to where he is today, and just helping build businesses, helping support businesses and entrepreneurs. And I call him basically the service guru. He has so much knowledge about how to not only take care of his members and how to help people take care of their members, but also help support a team. And so that's what I'm so excited about today, is that we will talk about the 3 ways of surveying your team. But I would like you guys to stick around, because we have an announcement slash little kind of set of information that we're going to give you guys. So you have to watch the whole time. And again, if just before we get started, if you like this video, if you're new here and this content jives with you, please be sure to like it, so I know this is content you're looking for, and subscribe to the channel. Why not? Or say like smash the notification bell so you don't forget about us. But thank you again, Chris, so much for being here today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love doing this. You always have such great content delivered so quickly and efficiently with such actionable items. It's always a pleasure to participate.
It's helpful when the person I bring on is really fast too. Let's get to it. So the first question I have for Chris today is that communication and feedback should be really a 2-way street between the manager or the leader of a team and then the team itself. So what do you, and so that's really important for not just trainers or fitness professionals, but also the frontline staff really of a club. They are the ones who are working with the members one-on-one a lot as well. So what is the mindset you encourage fitness managers to have when it comes to the reason you should survey your team and ask them for feedback?
It's interesting you say that, because I think one of the traits of great leaders is self-awareness. And I've done a lot of research and work at the California Health and Longevity Institute. I was privileged to have worked there for about 8 years, where we did a lot of executive wellness and leadership and mindfulness and stress management, communication. So spent a lot of time studying those areas. And there are many things you do to develop that self-awareness. But one of them is seeking feedback. And who better to receive feedback from than the people that you lead? And there's actually a term called CEO disease. And it's the higher you get as a leader, the less likely you are to get actual feedback. So if you're not proactively seeking it out in a very honest and open way, you're not going to get it. And you could perceive yourself to be this wonderful leader and all my jokes are funny and people just love working for me, when in reality, behind your back, they're going, I hate this guy. His jokes are not funny. And I can't stand the way he leads. So it's just really important. And the flip side to the tangible data that you get from that to help you be more self-aware and improve your leadership skills, it's a big sign to show your team, hey, I value you. I value what you think. So it's not just about the data you get, it's that gesture of saying that you do that. So then one thing with the feedback as well is, don't ask for it if you're not going to act on it. And that doesn't mean everything your team gives you as feedback, you just go out and do. You do one of 2 things. Either it is very solid, great feedback and you utilize it, or it gives you the opportunity to say, Stacy, I appreciate what you said. Here's why it's done a little bit differently, or here's why we go about it this way, or here's why I proceed down this path, right? So it's great for so many reasons.
I so agree. And it helps you with your self-awareness as a leader too.
Yeah.
Helps you become aware of what you should be aware of.
Yes. And by the way, there's a study, as I was researching, 90% of people believe that they're self-aware. So they really think that the person that I think I'm portraying myself as is what people are taking in. Only 10% actually are. And that's a pretty big issue.
Oh my gosh, I totally believe that number, those statistics. And then you really have three organized and great, just specific ways of surveying staff members. If you could describe those, that would be great.
Yeah, so the first one is actually, it's not my method. It's one that I came across that a lot of industries use, and it's called the Gallup Q12 poll. And for those of you who are not familiar with Gallup, they're an analytics and advisory company. And what they've come up with is this 12-question survey, which has become sort of the paramount survey in all the industry, in all industries, of judging the level of employee engagement. So they, after all their research and studies, it's these 12 questions, and based on the responses, it'll tell you how engaged your employees are. I don't have them memorized, so I have my notes right here. But as an example, some of the questions on there: do you know what is expected of you at work? In the last 7 days, have you received recognition or praise for doing good work? Does the mission purpose of the company make you feel like your job is important? Do your opinions seem to count? Is there someone at work who encourages your development? So these were the 12 questions after everything they worked for that they figured gave the best picture of whether or not an employee is engaged. So you can send this out to your team, get the feedback, and realize, wow, I've got a lot of engaged employees, or I've got disengaged or actively disengaged. And that's important to know. And everybody who's listening, and Stacey, you as well, as I say these terms, you'll be nodding your head like, oh, I can tell you who on my team is this, this, and this. But engaged means they buy into the culture, they do a great job, they go above and beyond, they're your all-stars. Disengaged doesn't mean they're bad. It just means they're not going to give the extra. They're there because it's a job. And they're not necessarily going to hurt you, but they're certainly not going to help you. And then you're actively disengaged are the ones that are working there. They're going, I don't even like this place. I don't know why I'm here. They're talking trash to the just disengaged people and then shifting them towards actively disengaged. So this is a great survey that'll give you a beat on where they're at. Also, on the flip side, what I found as a leader is just studying the questions helps you improve best practices as your leader yourself. So like, for example, in the last 7 days, have you received recognition or praise for doing a good job? I know as a leader, that's important. Therefore, I'm going to go out of my way to make sure I am praising people more often for the great job that they do, or making sure that opinions are heard, making sure that I'm encouraging their development. So in addition to it giving you the data, these are just great leadership techniques that as a leader, you should use when you're interacting with your staff. So that's one good solid method. Again, a lot of industries use it. Great, accurate, data driven. So it's not just, I think this works. The second one that I like to do with the team is start, stop, and continue surveys. So basically, it's just what it sounds like. You give them the survey. It says, what would you like to see us start doing? What would you like to see us stop doing? And what would you like to see us continue doing? So what are we doing well that you just want us to keep doing? And what was interesting is we had done this with our welcome desk staff at the last club that we owned and operated. And start doing, and our welcome desk is our frontline staff. They said, you need to start training us on the equipment. And it was funny because we really didn't do a lot of that for that particular group because, your trainers, your group X, those people knew how to do everything. But we didn't necessarily think that was a priority. But what we found was they really wanted us to start doing it because they were better able to assist members. So a member says, can you show me how to set up an interval program on this treadmill? And they would have to say, let me go ahead and try to find a manager, which is not a good experience for the member. The staff member doesn't feel as valuable, right? Because they don't know something. So that said, okay. So then we put in a regular scheduled training on all the equipment. Stop doing, much to my dismay and disappointment. So I'm a big believer in Net Promoter Score, and I would share it on a daily basis on our internal Facebook page with our staff. And I would say, we're up 1 point or we're down 1 point. And, every day, because I was obsessed with it. Well, it turns out when I surveyed the team, they said, dude, I didn't say dude, but you know what I'm saying? Basically, I could feel they were saying, dude, not every day. We know it's important, and maybe, once a month or every 2 weeks, but dude, you're hammering us every day, and we don't care if it goes up 1. We want to know that we worked hard. After a month, it went up, 7 points. So even though and this is the good thing for leaders, even though to me, I was like, this is the most important thing in the world, and I'm going to just give this to them all the time. That's not what they wanted, right? So it wasn't really helpful to them. So I knew, okay, I'm going to be a better leader by listening to their feedback and delivering it at the relevancy that, first of all, I know that they needed it, right? But it didn't need to be every day. So that was really helpful. And then I believe continue on this particular study was throwing awesome social events. And what was funny was, I'm like, well, who doesn't love a party? But for them, when we got those heavy responses, we were able to interact and ask more. And they were like, we get to know members better. So we see them outside of the club. It helps us remember names. It's fun. So it wasn't necessarily just about the party. It was about creating better relationships. And that was one of our core values. So it allowed them to do that. So keep doing that. Stop MPS every day, Stevenson. and start giving us more training on the different equipment and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a great, simple second way to survey. And then the third one I like to call targeted surveys. And with targeted surveys, they're more specific to different things that you're doing, right? So one example is a meeting effectiveness survey. So again, I'm sure you've had this when you meet with your teams, but how often does you go home and your husband goes, "Hey, how's the meeting?" And you're like, "I don't think it's great, maybe." Right. And we don't really know, we assume. So really, I always joke that you don't know if a meeting was good until whatever you talked about gets done and you see it happening. But also, why not survey them and say, and I like, especially with meeting effectiveness surveys, go from strongly disagree to agree to strongly agree. Right. So give them those 4 choices. The nice thing about 4 is it pushes them one way or the other. If you give them 5, they go right in the middle. That's not helpful. So this way they got to pick a side, so to speak. But things like how the length of the meeting, the content of the meeting, did what you learned during the meeting, did you learn something during the meeting? What you took away from the meeting, will help you with your job and help you do your job better. So you're going to ask questions like that to see if those meetings really are effective, right? One thing about that too is, when you try to get everybody together for a meeting, it's generally not during their regular shift and it's a challenge. So at least this way, when you survey them, you're showing, hey, these are important, but we also value. We don't want to waste your time. So you get that valuable data. And again, you're showing them appreciation and that you care and that their opinion matters. And then under that targeted survey, another great one that I love is a new hire survey. You can go any direction with that. I prefer to keep it a little lighter. Like you could go through that and say, do you think our onboarding was effective? And you can make it more technical, which may be appropriate if you're evaluating an onboarding program, but just simple things like, how do you prefer to receive praise? Right? How do you prefer to receive feedback? Do you need any extra training, tools, or information to do your job well now that you're starting? If you could have a gift card to anywhere in the world, where would that be? I love that one because you know how many Starbucks gift cards I've gotten throughout my career, and I have never tried coffee, right? So yeah. I understand the gesture, but when you just know that they like Amazon, they like iTunes, they do like Starbucks, just personalizing something like that means a lot. And again, it's in the ask as well. They're like, wow, this company cares enough to ask me, where I'd like a gift card to. So it's those little things, again, that with all 3 of these, and then, just targeted surveys in general. Let's say you ran a new employee incentive program. You could then survey them about that program to see if that program is as valuable as you thought it would be. So target is just, you're going to pick an area and you're going to design a survey around that to, again, let their voice be heard and get information so you can improve that programming. So again, with all of them, they're really twofold. Is 1, valuable data and information, which will help you as a leader make better decisions. And then the flip side to that is the gesture that, listen, we do care. We do want to know your opinion. We will act on it and we appreciate you. So it's really just a home run.
I love it. And I love the specific ask of when you do like a on a scale of 1 to 10, only doing 4. So that, like you said, there's no middle ground. I love that. That's specific. So
yeah.
It's good.
And one thing I do recommend as well too, it's very easy to unintentionally write leading surveys. So we don't have time for it right now, but that's like one example. Definitely, as you're planning your first survey, Google it and just say best practices for surveys, right? Because then you'll get some of those tactics and tips so you don't accidentally or write it in a way where you're not really getting valid information. So that's important.
Super smart. Yeah, super smart. When in doubt, Google it.
Yes.
We've all Googled it. Those are amazing. So I'll also try to remember to add those in the comments too, just the specific names so people can easily find them. And then what advice do you give to managers and leaders when it comes to, you've talked about this a little bit, but really addressing and communicating to your team, I've heard what you've said, and then explaining to them how and why? Like, do you do that on an individual basis? It kind of depends on the feedback, I guess. Or do you let the whole team know, hey, receive this feedback. Here's what I have to say about it, basically.
Yeah, you're going to do a case by case based on the survey. And are you surveying your entire staff or just different departments? But then as a leader, that's up to you. So sometimes it really is global information. So if you gather information from your entire staff, you'll probably give them your response to all the feedback. And again, as a leader, it's not about doing what they say. And I don't mean that in an egotistical way. I just mean sometimes they're not in the leadership position and they don't fully understand why you do things a certain way. So it's not about just doing what they say. However, there will be times where you get information, you're like, you know what, I'm not in the trenches. I understand how you see it that way, and that does make sense, and we're going to make some changes. But a lot of times it's them telling you, I'd like to see it differently. And then you're saying, I hear you, but here, let me explain why this is so significant. And then especially with, obviously with non-anonymous surveys where you know who they're coming from, if there are any things that ever really stand out or seem possibly problematic or super strong opinions, you should definitely pull those people as individuals and have a deeper conversation. And there's a real power to that. Again, just as a reminder, it's not about doing everything they say. It's about either taking that info and making improvements or explaining to them so they have a clear picture and saying, you know what, I get it now. So I'm all on board.
That is awesome. No, it's so easy to help as leader, because that is what's great is you can identify what you may not be telling your team is the way things are or why they're happening the way they are, or what you have to do as a leader that they might not realize. All great for them to learn.
Yeah, and as a leader, there are 3 reasons people, and this is a little bit of a tangent, but 3 reasons people don't perform the way you need them to. 1, they don't care. And if they don't care, they're just not a good culture fit and they're not a good team member. So they got to go, right? 2, they don't know how. And then you just give them more training, right? That's the, what else do you need from me? How can I get you up to speed? And 3 is they don't agree. And that's sort of kind of when you get those survey responses where maybe they don't agree with things a certain way. And in that particular case, it warrants a sit down to say, tell me exactly what you're thinking here. Okay, I hear you. Here's why that's not in line with this. Or that's a good point. Maybe we will make changes that way. We did that in our childcare center with name tags. Our staff would not wear name tags. So, of course, as someone who never worked in that department, it's probably in my 20 some odd years of fitness, the one job I've never done was worked in a childcare. But, so I sat the team down and said, hey, listen, of all the departments, your name tag is the most important because a parent is trusting you with their child. And they said, here's the thing, they're rectangular, we're holding babies, and we're worried they're going to cut or like poke their eye out with this name tag, which I had never crossed my mind. And by the way, I'm pretty sure a baby losing an eye in your childcare is
that'd
really
be
bad.
A bigger problem.
Yeah, that's bad for business. But in that particular case, we then said, well, what do you guys recommend? And they said, well, we have, and they were very proactive. They said, we looked and there are round name tags that have very strong magnets that can't be pulled off and that can't poke an eye out. So we immediately switched all of the name tags to the round ones. So that was a particular case where their feedback, although not formally from a survey, was very valuable and prompted us to make a change that then made them feel safe, happy, and they had contributed to make it a better place. So it really works out well sometimes.
That's such a great example. That's a huge example.
Yeah.
Well, that's all. Those are all the questions I have for Chris. I'll make sure to again re-explain kind of the details in the notes and the comments. But it's time to reveal the new business venture that you are going on. So please tell us all about it.
So
Be Military Fit.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So, obviously we're in very interesting times, and I've been in this industry for well over, you were so nice to say almost 20 years now, well over 20 years. So much older, but, so having the ability to run successful clubs for so many years and then step into the speaking and consulting space, which has been just amazing. Still had the hankering to get back in the industry as an operator. And when COVID hit and the world kind of shut down, and so many fitness centers got hit so hard and so many trainers and Group X instructors, it was just awful for our industry, an industry that does so much to improve people's lives. So as we were looking at different opportunities, I had spoken with a friend who was involved with the company in the UK, and it was called Be Military Fit. And what it is it's very well organized, customized outdoor group fitness training. And the really neat part is, so as we spoke together, we found that there looked like there would be a really good partnership in this. And so the company is owned by Bear Grylls, which is the Man vs. Wild guy. So we're able to partner with Bear Grylls and his new company and be the first people to bring and operate locations in the U.S. and then provide an opportunity for other trainers who are looking for opportunities to have a location as well. And for me, that was an absolute home run because I do miss owning and operating. As much as I love consulting and working with clubs, I just can't shake it. So to be able to do that again, but more importantly, I think even is provide a proven system that's well branded and cool and effective and really helps a lot of people that is pretty much, for the most part, Corona proof, right? Because it's outdoors and it's organized. So even if we have that second wave and things shut down, this is a way that we can give people the opportunity and the support they need to take control of their own destiny as trainers and instructors and do something that really makes a difference. So you'll see more and more coming out about it. Be Military Fit California, the first location, looks like it's going to be Military Fit Westlake. So we're really excited.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're really excited to get this thing rolling, and again, really just give back to the industry that's given so much to us. So we're pumped.
I am so excited. I cannot wait to ask you more questions about it and do more interviews about it and learn more about what's going on and where you guys are going with it. So excited. If you're still tuned in, thanks for sticking around, and you'll have to check it out. Be Military Fit, California. And Marissa did stop by, so we'll wave and say hi to Marissa for coming today. She said, "Hi guys." I always like to give credit to people who comment. So appreciate you for stopping by, and we'll see you guys again. I don't have necessarily anything planned in the coming weeks, but I'll be throwing more and more lives, trying to do these at least once a week on Wednesdays. So you can hopefully tune into those. Check out my Facebook page or Instagram to try to see what's going on and what's coming up next. But thank you again so much, Chris, for your time.
My pleasure. We'll do it again soon.
I love it.